Good evening. We would like to call this meeting to order. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Kingman City Council held at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, December 5th, 2023. We'd like to turn some time over to our city clerk for roll call.
Mayor Watkins.
Here.
Vice Mayor Samily. Here. Councilmember Eric.
Present.
Councilmember Savage.
Here.
Councilmember Scott Staley.
Present.
Councilmember Walker.
Here.
Councilmember Ward.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation tonight will be given by Pastor Peter Ernst of the Family Bible Church. I would ask all of us to stand, and then after that, remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father God, we thank you tonight for your divine providence and giving us the privilege to live here in this great state, in this great community, in this great American experiment. Thank you for these United States of America. We know that to whom much is given, much will be required. We're privileged people to live free in this constitutional republic. We know that the Word of God tells us that where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. We understand that liberty and freedom has a price tag, and that each and every generation has to fight anew for that liberty, sometimes with its own lifeblood. And so, God, we give you thanks. As you are our Creator, you've given us life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We give you thanks for watching over us when much of our nation has sought to expel you from the schoolhouse, the courthouse, and even the White House. Help us this day as decisions are made that affect us all. Give us wisdom and our leaders here in this great community. We pray, God, that you would protect those who serve us in our police department, the fire department, our city workers. Watch over our country and help us seek that which is right over what may seem convenient. Continue to guide us to that moral compass you have placed in each one of our hearts, and help us to do better in leaving behind us a greater legacy for our children and grandchildren. To these lofty ends we humbly pray. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The council may go into executive session for legal counsel in accordance with ARS 38-431.03A3 to discuss any agenda item. The following items may be discussed, considered, and decisions made relating thereto. Tonight, we do need to have a quick executive session. First thing, item 9A on our agenda. Our attorney that we have for the interchanges needs to speak to us, and this is his time available right now. You are all welcome to stay here, and it shouldn't be more than 15, 20 minutes, I hope. So, and obviously, if you do need leave, we totally understand, but we appreciate you being here. But can we have a motion from counselors for going into executive session?
Can you describe what executive session we're going into?
Oh, do you want me to read that?
Yeah, could you please?
I will.
Thank you.
Item 9A, executive session regarding KX Ventures, DA. The city attorney requests that the council go into executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A4 to discuss and get direction regarding the KX Ventures development agreement. Can we have a motion for that?
So moved.
A second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are going into executive session. Thanks again for being here, and we will see you in a little bit. And we will continue on our agenda. Item 1A, appointments. Heritage Preservation Commission appointment. The Heritage Preservation Commission currently has one vacancy with a term ending 12/31/2026. One application from Pamela Horstmeyer has been received and provided for review to the council liaison, city manager, and staff. Residency and voter registration status have been verified. Staff recommends the appointment of Pamela Horstmeyer to the Heritage Preservation Commission for a term ending December 31st, 2026. Councilor Ward, I think you are assigned to this commission?
Yes,
Do you have any
that's,
comment on this?
that is my commission, and I've reviewed the application, and I recommend that we appoint her to the opening.
Okay, I know Ms. Horstmeyer is here. Does council have any questions for her, or do we need to just move forward on this? Yes, if you'd like to come forward, Pamela?
For once, I don't have anything, but I'm happy to be here again and see you all. That's it. I'm super excited to be on this commission. I want to be involved, so I'm going to start here and see where we go.
Well, we appreciate your willingness to serve on a commission.
Thank you.
That's very plaudable. Okay, Councilor Ward, would you like to make a motion then?
I'll make the motion that we appoint, I'm looking at the name. I want to make sure it's pronounced it right. Pamela Horstmeyer to the Heritage Preservation Commission for term ending December 31st, 2026.
Can we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Congratulations, Pamela. We're glad to have you there. Item number 2, call to the public. Comments from the public. Those wishing to address the council should fill out request forms in advance. Comments from the public will be restricted to items not on the agenda, with the exception of those on the consent agenda. There will be no comments allowed that advertise for a particular person or group. Comments should be limited to no longer than 3 minutes. The council may not respond to speakers during the call to the public. The council may direct the city manager to study the matter or request that the matter be placed on a future agenda. First, we have Gene Mund. Gene? Mr. Mund, if you'd like to come forward.
Yeah, my name is Gene Mund. I live at 3264 Amanda Avenue. This is the second time I'm doing this. This is a layout of our streets and stuff up there. I presented this a year ago, and nothing's really been done. So I'll just briefly go over it. On Central here, I'm going to put my glasses on. Central and Hualapai, it's been over a year. We request about a light there. It's really dark there. About a month ago, there was an accident there in the dark. And it was very hard for the fire department, the police department. They could hardly see what the heck was going on. Even me, I was driving up there. It was about 9:30 at night. And it's very dangerous there. Everybody's trying to make a left turn because they're building so many homes down that street. People come up behind you so fast. Then they're trying to go around on the side of the right-hand side of the dirt and stuff. It would be nice if we just had a street light there just to give a warning because it's very dangerous there. And then on the same street there on Central between, this is Karen and Isidore, the sidewalk is damaged there. There's missing sidewalk. It's actually a safety issue. There's missing concrete. And at the bad side, there's broken concrete. There's at least, I would say, they're in sections, 3-foot sections. There's at least 10 to 12 of them are damaged. Some are missing. Chunks are out of there. Well, people walk it in the morning time in the dark. Somebody tripped there and they could sue us. I'd rather see it get fixed than somebody sue us. And so, and the other issue is that where Angle Homes is building their homes up on Cherry and Tiffany, they have dumpsters there. Well, there's nothing wrong with the dumpsters, but they're overflowing and the junk blows everywhere. Right now on Cherry, on the corner of Cherry and Hualapai, the dumpster's so full, it's got to be 3 feet above the top of the dumpster, and it's flowing over onto the ground. And that's not just on Cherry, it's on Tiffany too. And on, I think it's Whitehead, this is the next street up. I don't know what the problem is, why they don't empty them. But I know people throw trash into it, and that's part of the problem. But the same thing with the workers there. They throw the trash and it doesn't go in there and it blows all over the place. But that's just and some of the problem. And then on Yellowpie, where you have washers there, well, on the sidewalk there, they're the handicap spots. Well, there's dirt, I'd say at least that high on those. And I called the street department to tell them to clean it up, but they've never cleaned it up. They haphazardly did the street, but it's still got dirt and debris, and it's a safety hazard to the city. So I don't know what to say. And then at the same time, the washers there, you know, they're sloughing off because there's no gravel there. I suggested that to them. We need to put rock there because it just keeps sloughing off. The city comes and pushes the dirt back up and it sloughs back off. But I see my time's left, but here's another copy of this if you'd like to have it.
Actually,
Yeah.
thank you, Mr. Munn, for your comments, and our city staff and our city manager have heard your comments, so we appreciate that. Thank you. Randy Perry? Is Randy here? Okay. Well, thank you for your comments. Item number 3, consent agenda. All matters listed here are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Councilors, have we had a chance to take a look at all these items on here, A through H, on our consent agenda? Is there anything that needs to be removed and discussed? Okay, seeing none, can we have a motion then to approve our item number 3 consent agenda?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, old business. Resolution number 5483, adopting the Kingman Transportation Master Plan. Resolution number 5483 is for consideration and adoption of the updated Kingman Area Transportation Study. Last fiscal year, the city set out to update the Kingman Area Transportation Study, also called a Kingman Transportation Master Plan. The TMP has not been updated since 2011. The TMP guides development and transportation improvements based on historical and anticipated growth and connectivity needs. The TMP will be used to address current deficiencies and minimize transportation challenges in the future. Staff recommends approval. Our city manager, Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, tonight you're going to be hearing a presentation from Kimley Horn, who was the principal engineering firm that was the consultant on this project. But before we have Mr. Grandy from Kimley Horn come up, I'm going to have Jack Plante give a little bit of an overview of the scope of work and what was completed before Mr. Grandy comes up. With that, I'll turn it over to our Assistant Public Works Director.
Thank you, Manager Grady. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. As what's presented to you, you guys have in your packet the draft, or really the final version. You guys have seen 2 previous drafts of the Transportation Master Plan that we've been working on. And so I'll give a brief history on how we came to wanting to complete a Transportation Master Plan, and a couple components in there. Michael has a presentation, which is also in your packet, that he'll detail a lot of this information as well. But as it noted, we're trying to help guide our development and our capital planning and improvements. And that's so we can have a good, well-connected transportation network. In the Transportation Master Plan, we address transit. We have a transit master plan, but we look at how all those pieces work together globally. Look at roadways, the connectivity, different corridors for arterial collectors, and help to look toward the future. So the horizon on this plan that you have in front of you is 2045. Keep in mind, that's based on, what we know of planned projects and of development that is planned to occur or occurring. And so these will be updated periodically based on what the predictors are and then what the actual, conditions in the field are. So we went and we did a request for qualifications. Kimley Horn was our selected engineer and planning firm. And so we gathered up a technical advisory committee, which included multiple departments and divisions of the city, Mojave County, which was their engineering and their planning and zoning side. We also included the Western Area Council of Governments, our local MPO, and then we took public outreach or public input. And so the public input was received a couple ways. We did a couple presentations with the council. We also had a website, a project website that was specific to this, and we did some surveys, and we also did mailers out to everybody's water bill inside the network. And so I had a pretty good return on the surveys. We had a couple hundred actual written comments. I think we had 180 completed surveys. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but you guys have seen a lot of surveys that we've done and the numbers we get back. So we're actually pretty happy with the view we got. And in that website, we had an interactive map that Kimley Horn put together. It was really neat. You could go in and click and make comments in specific areas, and whether it related to pedestrian traffic or transit or vehicular traffic, we took all that information, and Kimley Horn compiled the information we got back and used that in that report. So with that, I'll introduce Michael Grandy from Kimley Horn and let him cover his presentation, and then we'll try and answer any questions you may have at the end.
Thank you, Jack. Just pull that up. All right. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Nice to see many of you again. I was here presenting on the Transportation Master Plan a couple times during the process of the project. It's great to be here at the tail end of it. So I'm just going to do a quick recap of kind of the process we went through in the development of the Transportation Master Plan. Touch a little bit more on the public engagement that Jack already talked about, and then talk through some of our findings and recommendations and kind of next steps. So the TMP planning process has 4 major components. First is collecting data and analyzing that data. Second is coming up with alternatives and improvement options. And third is then documenting all of the recommendations that come out of that in a report. And then the fourth that underlies everything is the public and stakeholder engagement. And as Jack mentioned, we did have a website up, and this is just a screenshot of that interactive map that he had mentioned, where people could go in and make comments. And yeah, we do feel like we got very high visitation and input comment statistics compared to other cities of a similar size to Kingman for this type of project. The public was very engaged and very supportive in general of making improvements to all aspects of the transportation network, the roads, the transit, and active transportation, or bicycle and pedestrian things. These are just some screenshots of the advertisement that went in the water bill, and then one of the social media posts. So we were definitely trying to reach people through various means, recognizing not everyone looks in the same place for information. We want to cast as wide a net as we can to get input from the public. From our current and future conditions analysis, kind of summarized it down into some of the strengths and opportunities in Kingman, as well as some of the weaknesses and threats that the transportation network has. And in general, Kingman's transportation network functions very well. There are a few problem areas, but overall, it's compared to a lot of the other cities in Arizona and other parts of the country. I feel Kingman's transportation network is in good shape. And so for the places where we did see some deficiencies or other things that we think there's opportunity for improvement, The way we went about developing an improvement project was first come up with solution options for the deficiencies that are there, and then prioritize those solutions, recognizing not everything may be as effective as other options, and then combine solutions where it makes sense into projects. Like you might have 3 solutions on the same segment of road. If we can put that all into one project, there's some cost savings from a construction administration and management side of things. And then look at implementation. How do we phase projects, and what are the funding options that are there to hopefully be able to fund some of those projects. That the improvement, refinement, and prioritization that we did relied heavily on the input that we received from the public in the first survey that we did, that we sent out to the public, where we asked them to kind of rank for safety, accessibility, efficiency, resiliency, and comfort, like what's most important to them. And then values were a little different for automobile travel versus active transportation or transit. People have different priorities depending on how they're traveling. But these went into helping to prioritize the potential solutions. And then, as I mentioned, we had a larger pool of potential solutions that we then were able to kind of boil down and consolidate into 63 projects. And then those were broken out into groups of high priority, medium priority, and low priority. And when we say priority, we're just saying in terms of addressing existing deficiencies or noted and planned deficiencies, that we know from growth that's happening. This isn't necessarily saying what the city council's priorities are or any individual persons. These are just for the transportation network. What we see is the kind of priority level for different types of projects. This is a map and a table showing the high priority projects, the top 20. I'm not going to read through them all. You're welcome to look at that in more detail, and happy to answer any questions on it. But I did want to point out that there's a good mix of roadway projects and transit projects and active transportation. And that was not like us intentionally trying to make sure that happened. That's the way it worked out with using the prioritization criteria. That there are definitely some opportunities for some really effective projects across all modes of travel. And then once we had kind of identified, okay, these are the projects we think should be implemented, and then we looked at the travel demand model that has been built for the Kingman region. Said, what if we didn't implement any of those prioritized projects? How bad would traffic congestion get? And then compare that to if we implement those prioritized projects, what change would we see? And the map on the left, you may be able to see, Stockton Hill Road is red and very dark red. If you don't have those improvements, I mean, it's already congested now, but it's only going to get worse without some of the improvements. So some of the improvements that are recommended are, creating some parallel routes and things to give people other options of how to get around to help address some of that traffic, as well as making some improvements on Stockton Hill Road itself. And then lastly, this is a build-out roadway network. So this does not have an assigned year to it. This is just, speaking kind of theoretically, if Kingman ever builds out completely, uses up all the land that's out there, what kind of transportation network would likely be needed? And the lines and the classifications of the roads that you see here, these are preliminary, a starting point, a framework to build off of, recognizing that, at an individual development level, there may need to be some negotiation between, city staff and the developer to make sure things make sense. But this kind of helps provide the vision of, we need higher classification roads that can carry more capacity, every so often, and then some smaller roads in between. We want to have a plan, though, so it's not just being built piecemeal and then things don't work functionally all together as a region. So what are our next steps? Well, this table on the left, again, is that top 20 priority projects. These are the projects that we recommend the city focus on trying to identify funding for. We've listed several potential funding sources in this table. Some of them are existing, some of them are, potential future ones that don't exist today. So these are things for city staff and council to consider moving forward on, where can we find the money to do some of these, because I recognize there's not enough funding to do everything that you'd like to do. And then how do you phase them, which ones are most important, and who's responsible for implementing them. Some of them are completely the city, some of them might be between the developer and the city, each doing parts of it. ADOT and the county may be partners in some of the projects. And then the medium and low priority projects, we don't want to forget about those completely, but at the same time recognizing there's probably not even going to be enough funding to do the high priority. We want to focus on the high priority, but have the medium and low there as a reference in the future. If conditions change, you want to go back and revisit something, you have some information on kind of what was done during the transportation master plan process. Then just a few other recommendations, and these are not like geographically specific necessarily, but more on the policy and process side, like updating the streets and sidewalks development rules and regulations that the city has, the traffic impact analysis guidelines. The city has those documents. They've been in place for several years, but conditions have changed, and there's some things in there that may warrant being updated. And then also preparing an Americans with Disabilities Act transition plan. This is actually a federal requirement from the Department of Justice. You have to show that you have a plan to address mobility concerns in the community so that people with disabilities can get around. You don't have to fix everything right away, but you have to have a plan for how you're going to do that. And so we recommend that the city embark on that plan, as well as an active transportation plan, which would be a more detailed focus on pedestrian, bicycle, and trail facilities. The TMP has some kind of guidelines and a few projects, but to really get down into the details of that and make sure everything connects the way you want it, we recommend a separate plan for that. Then there are a couple of roads that we recommend be added to the federal functional classification system. This then opens the door for federal funding to potentially be used for these facilities. And then last but not least is develop and adopt a Vision Zero policy statement. If you're not familiar with the term Vision Zero, this is from the safety side, trying to say, our vision is zero fatalities. We recognize it may not be doable today or tomorrow, but that's kind of the vision. Can we make the transportation network such that it's safe for everyone? So we do recommend that a Vision Zero policy statement be developed, because that will open up other funding opportunities from the federal level for safety, and also is a guide to the citizens here that safety is a priority for the city council. So with that, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Michael. Council, any questions for Mr. Grandy? Vice Mayor?
I did have a question. I don't know if it's
Or-
which one it's going to be for, but I just wanted to know when the last time Kingman had a master transportation study done.
The CATS area transportation study was done in 2011 was the last update to that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. Jack, do you have anything to wrap it up?
No, well, I guess I'll add a few in there. So as Michael looked at, we're looking at not only the current conditions and some of the pinch points we have. We've all seen the connectivity issues that you run into, on the east side of town, or if you're trying to cross between Stockton Hill and Andy Devine, those sorts of things. Willow is a good example. That's really was probably intended to function as a collector or maybe a minor arterial, but it's got a full build out of homes in there, a pretty significant amount of traffic. So those are the kinds of things that we're trying to look at. And, you know, those all contribute to a safe, effective, and efficient transportation network. And when you're looking at those, you're looking at a whole slew of things. You're looking at, you know, the volume of traffic that might be in there. Michael talked about the traffic demand model that was done. You know, a lot of criteria go into that, and it helps run models and helps the team figure out where you might have potential congestion issues in the future. We looked at accident history. We look at overall connectivity and efficiency of travel. So there's a lot that goes into this. And the big piece of this is looking out into the future. One of the slides that Michael showed you that showed the potential extensions of the future arterial collector network, those are diagrammatical, you know, in nature. And so as development and construction occurs, you know, those are going to be looked at a deeper level through traffic impact analysis and planning level, you know, construction level planning versus planning level, where we're looking at a pretty high view of what's happening in the network. And so if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm sure you guys.
Jack, yes. Councilor Staley.
Sorry, as you were talking there, I thought of a question about, so we've heard, you know, people coming in and complain about getting a lot of traffic on their street. We had one not that long ago. There wasn't a stop sign. People were speeding. I've seen it on Verdugo, for example. They're trying to get around the traffic that's on Willow, so they'll go one over, and then they're speeding through. Also, right off of Anson Smith Road, Anson Smith backs up on Sundays, so people are going through the neighborhoods and driving really fast, and there isn't anything to slow them down. There aren't a lot of stop signs. So will this plan help you to go back and reevaluate those streets and maybe add stop signs or other traffic calming devices to make the neighborhood safer from this through traffic that isn't really supposed to be in there because they don't live in the neighborhood?
It doesn't get to that level. Those are ones that we do. We did a series of them last year that we're actually wrapping up. One of those was like Wallapai Mountain Road that we reported on. We actually had one in that Verdugo area. I want to say we did like 7 or 8 different traffic analysis in different intersections, roadways, or neighborhoods. And so that's really the tool you would use to dig down into that level. One of the things that we've actually talked about, which isn't on here, Manager Grady and I have actually had the conversation as a result of the complaint we had for like Yavapai, is looking at a traffic calming plan. And so the transportation master plan and some additional work would go into developing an overall plan. Because one of the things for traffic calming in particular, you have unintended results, right? Sometimes you fix the problem on this road, but what it does is it drives them to the adjacent roadways. And so the transportation master plan looking forward will help us hopefully prevent some of those, because a good arterial collector network will prevent some of that. You know, you have limited access to those arterials. The collectors have access into the neighborhoods, or and this is where the street and sidewalk regs come in. You know, you don't face them out into the arterials or collectors, and that maintains good efficiency and safety through those corridors. So it'll help into the future, but to answer your question in short, to hit some of those real specific problem areas, we'll do a different additional traffic analysis in those spots.
So you do your own analysis for those? It seems like, you know, the residents, they of course notice it first, and then there's this long process to decide what they need. If they need a stop sign, they don't need it. And it seems like we don't move too fast to help the neighborhood. We kind of want to have all these pieces of data in place before we take action. Is that a normal, like, is that what most cities do, is to do the analysis and it goes before the safety commission?
Mayor and Councilmember Staley, absolutely. Other cities do that. And what I'm seeing here is exactly what I've seen in other cities I've worked in before. You'll see we'll place speed tubes down. Those actually evaluate the speed of the vehicles, but also the volume counts. And so we do that, and yes, it does seem like it's very slow. I will admit that is the case, but we're very methodical, and we also have an internal traffic committee, which consists of not only Public Works, but also the police department and the engineering department. So it's really important that we make really good assessments, evaluate data before we put signs in. And I know it's very frustrating because some of this seems like it's a no-brainer. Like, why are you going through all this effort for when everybody knows we just need a stop sign? Well, believe it or not, there's a lot of all these regulations that we try to follow, because if we don't, there's a lot of these, I hate to use this term, Carl, close your ears, ambulance chasing attorneys that like to sue cities, and they like to find out whether or not we actually did this analysis. So it's very important that we do that, and I think it's what I would call complete staff work. And so what I've seen so far, even the requests I have had to take some time, but they're doing all the right steps.
I appreciate that answer, because what I always hear is, why can't you just put up a stop sign and fix this? Because they feel, that it is dangerous, that people are speeding, a kid could get hurt, or their animals or whatever. They're worried about them, and they just see it as, digging a hole, put in a sign, and problem solved. So thank you for that answer.
It's the unintended consequences, right? Same thing. We use a sign where it shouldn't be. There's potential litigation. There's other hazards and things that come along with that. So, and along with the Traffic Safety Committee, we actually use a traffic engineer that evaluates a lot of those. If it's something simple as far as, okay, signage, maybe like speed limit signs, those sorts of things, we can do internally. But when we get a little deeper into that, we like to have somebody that will evaluate those in a more detailed level and actually provide us some documentation with that.
What is the process for a citizen to get you to start looking at their street? Do they just call Public Works?
Yeah, so right now they'll call Public Works. We can go out and look at it, and if it's something that's a easy change in the field, our crews can take care of those. And I say an easy change, per our ordinance, regulatory warning actually goes to the Traffic Safety Committee. And at that point, if the committee says, yeah, we recommend it, it moves forward. If not, then maybe we're telling them, hey, we can't do that. Stop signs are one of the most requested devices we have, and that's usually what it is. People want to try and slow traffic. They're also highly litigated, and if you use them in the wrong location, you can cause more issues. There's actual national studies that actually talk about some of the issues that you see where you put a stop sign where it's not really warranted. And, we see rear end crashes and T-bones from inattention, and kind of the same thing. So when you're looking at sight distance issues, you're looking at volumes of traffic where you have a lot of volume on a side street, those are areas where you start looking at some of those types. And the Federal Highways Administration, FHWA, actually has, we call it the MUTCD, it's a Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. There's other design criteria related, depending on the roadway conditions, but that really gives us the guidance for when and where to use a sign, exactly what the sign looks like, the size, the placement, all those things are detailed pretty well. Okay. And so it actually provides you warrants on, when and where you should use certain devices. So we do some of that, like I say, in-house, but sometimes we also need additional expertise, and that's where we reach out to a traffic engineer.
Thank you.
Jack, I appreciate your comment, especially, and Councilor Saley, it seems like a simple thing just to put a stop sign up someplace because we see a need for it. But then you mentioned it oftentimes in compounds and causes the problem to go a couple streets over or changes traffic flow. And by having a plan like this, it gives us, defense in litigation, against litigation, because of what we're trying to follow a master plan.
This is more so to try and prevent some of those issues. A good, healthy transportation network, we won't see these as much. I mean, you guys have received requests for different signage and complaints about the traffic in neighborhoods, and when you look at those are typically existing neighborhoods. They're not really the new subdivisions. The last one really was, but if you look at the function on that road and the way it's built, you can see how some of those are set up, and again, it's not necessarily a preventative, or I'm sorry, a defensive measure. It's more of a preventative measure.
Okay. Yes.
So, Mayor and Council, tonight I think this is great because Kimley Horn is a top-notch engineering firm, And as you can see, there's been a lot of traffic analysis in what's been recommended tonight in the the transportation master plan. The good news is that this information is going to be what is going to be driving future capital improvement projects. So it's not like the staff is going to be pulling these out of the air. You're going to see everything is going to be backed up with data and information going forward. And then you'll have a chance to help prioritize these when you go through your capital improvement program process. The other thing I wanted to point out too is one of the great recommendations is the active transportation plan that you saw up there earlier. So I could speak very highly of that as a recommendation, and that's something we'd probably want to go forward with in the next 6 to 12 months. When I was in Fountain Hills, we were able to get millions of dollars. First of all, that active transportation plan was grant funded, and we were able to get millions of dollars for sidewalk improvements and other pedestrian type improvements for our city. So these are types of things that in the future you might be seeing coming back to you, but I would strongly urge you to support these because they will actually bring us additional types of dollars that currently we cannot attract. So for grants. So anyways, this is great. The other parting thought I have on this is that I would say we probably need to do a refresh on this in 5 years. With the growth that we're anticipating, it's probably, we don't want to wait another 11, 12 years before we do another one of these plans. So that's all I have.
Mr. Miller, thank you for your comments. I appreciate that. Council, well, actually, are there any other comments or questions for Mr. Grandy or for Mr. Planty? Okay, thanks again, Mr. Grandy, for coming up and being here today. And Jack, thank you.
guys.
Then can we have a motion then approving item number 4A, resolution number 5483, adopting the Kingman Transportation Master Plan?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, can we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any other further discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 5, new business 5A, adoption of the 2024 City Council regular meeting schedule. The Kingman City Council meets on the first and third Tuesday of each month. The attached calendar outlines the meeting dates for 2024. Historically, the council has chosen to not meet on the primary and general election dates. Staff recommends approval. Any discussion from council about this? Mr. Miller, do you have anything to add to this?
No, it's just very simple. Just wanted to, we haven't done this before, but we wanted to go ahead and have the council take action in December for the next 12 months. It's obvious you meet twice a month, but we've also in the past have not had meetings for the primary and general election day that falls on a council meeting day. So with that, this is great. You acting on this tonight will allow us to go ahead and publicize this information for the rest of the year. We don't have to wait as we approach those months for the upcoming meetings. So, and of course, if you want more meetings, you're always welcome to have special meetings and workshops.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Any other comments from council? Can we have a motion then approving item 5A, adoption of the 2024 City Council regular meeting calendar?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Item 5B, General Plan Public Participation Plan. ARS 9-461.06 requires cities to adopt written procedures to providing ample public participation, broad distribution, written comments, public hearings after effective notice, and the opportunity for official comment from public and private stakeholders within the city of Kingman, as well as the surrounding areas and jurisdictions. Participation is necessary to ensure appropriate coordination in the development and major amendment processes of a general plan 2024. Community Development is requesting council approval of the attached public participation plan. Staff recommends approval. Mr. Miller?
Very quickly, I just wanted to remind the council that the council awarded a contract to a firm to assist us with conducting a general plan process. And as you just read, Mayor, the state does require us to have a public participation plan. We were originally going to have this on consent, but we thought that wasn't very participatory, so we thought we'd put it at least as a regular item on the agenda. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sean Osterman, who has a lot more details about what you have before you. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Osterman.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. I don't want to say this is simple, but it is kind of simple. When we're updating the general plan and other things, it's very important to have participation from not only city staff, but also the residents, other organizations, other agencies to be involved in this. This is a pretty big deal for us. This is essentially setting the growth of Kingman, right? This is the guide that we use on how we need to grow. So I'm glad to hear that you've approved the traffic, or the transportation plan, because that is a document that we're waiting for to also incorporate into the general plan with everything that we're doing as far as that. So as you can see in the plan, it's a pretty this is a general plan of the participation plan, right? There's a lot that we still have to do as staff. We've actually already chosen just this week the list of people representing all of these agencies, and we've put out an invite to them. So essentially with that, we want to make sure that the residents, agencies all around, and council has, a very, very large amount of interaction when we're going through this plan and planning out what we foresee our community growing as. With that, I'll essentially just entertain any questions.
Questions for Sean?
I have a
Yes,
question.
Vice Mayor?
Hi.
Hello.
I was curious, you said you've already sent out invites to those individuals. How are those individuals selected?
So they were selected based upon, like for instance, the city council, right? We have our liaison that is going to be there for all of the meetings and everything that pertain and all the discussions that we have, right? So that would be who we chose from the city council, right? For instance, the Planning and Zoning Commission, it's going to be our entire division that's going to be involved in this as far as that goes. And just kind of going down with the list, we have representatives from the Arizona Department of Transportation that this is what they do, right? So those are kind of how we've gone through and chosen people that are involved, right? So from the airport, obviously we have our in-house airport manager, as well as Bennett, because he's involved very much so in that stuff as well. When I sent out the request to the school district, I sent it to the superintendent, and it's the superintendent or their designee, right? So it's not specific, a specific person, but just
I'll go ahead and
good
save you.
representation.
I'll save you. I'm at the very bottom of the list. So the public at large, like any other representative acting as a technical advisor.
So we have members from the real estate. We have a real estate broker, a fairly large real estate broker that I've invited and has accepted to come. There are, I can send Manager Grady the list of who they are.
I just wanted to know when
Yeah.
it says any other, it's
Right.
like
So
else
that's
are
kind
you
of
looking?
there. That's kind of there to where if you have recommendations, we can add them to the list and invite them.
Okay.
Right. So if
Okay.
there's any other agencies or anything else around town, I mean, I've gone as far as to inviting people from Mojave County. So it's I think right now I'm at 17 people that we've invited.
Okay.
So.
All right. I'm just interested in the any other.
Oh yeah.
So if you could send me a list of
right,
the any others.
Right. So that they're, like I said, they are included. Members of development community. Every aspect that you can think of, and that's kind of put on the plan because again, we don't want to go outside of the plan. This is just kind of an open of if we think of somebody, hey, that's probably a good person to have here, so that we're able to invite them.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Sean? Okay, can we entertain a motion then for item 5B, General Plan, Public Participation Plan?
So moved.
Can we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Item 6, Department Reports. A, Retail Coach Presentation. Mr. Miller?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. Bennett Bratley is going to come up and introduce I believe, the consultant involved in the retail coach. So I know there's been some excitement about this and anticipation, and so I think that's a very good report, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Bratley, who's going to go into a little bit more detail.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. Tonight, I'm excited to be able to introduce to you our economic development retail consultant that we've been working with. But before I have them speak and go through their presentation, I'd like to go over the process that we went through to bring them on board. So we did an RFQ process, and in that, we were looking for a company to provide recommendations to our team on existing retail leakage, as well as economic development marketing when it comes to retail on our websites, our retail perspective reports, marketing and interactive site mapping, the retail strategy for strategic planning, and of course, retail recruitment. On March 1st of this year, the economic development team sent out the request for a quote to multiple companies specializing in these type of services. And on March 29th, we received multiple responses, and our team started to review them. In that decision process, on April 20th, the economic development team met with a retail coach, the group that you're going to hear from tonight, and that's when, at that time, we looked at their proposal and we selected them. And it was May 19th that the agreement, or May 9th that the agreement was signed of this year. So over the last few months, we've been working with them. Some of the deciding factors was their known professionalism, reliability, and years of experience in retail recruitment. In other communities, positive experiences. We talked with other communities about their experiences with them, and the price point was within our budget. On September 12th, they did have some of their team come out and do a site visit, and I participated in that, was able to show them around and take a look at some sites. We were also able to meet with the vice mayor at the time, and so tonight, I'd like the entire council to meet them, and so at this point, I'd like to introduce Aaron Farmer. He is the president of Retail Coach. And Aaron has over 15 years of experience with the company, analyzing markets and developing retail recruitment strategies for communities nationwide. So we do have a presentation with them, if we can put them up. There we go.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Bennett, for the introduction, and Mayor and Council. It's great to be here tonight with you. Put together a short presentation to really just talk about what we've been doing, where we're at right now, and where we're headed from a retail recruitment standpoint. I've got Becky Gross from our team on the line as well, and also Caleb Wilson. So Becky's a project manager for us, and Caleb is a retail recruitment specialist for us. And like Bennett mentioned, we've been in the market and see quite a bit of opportunity. Excited to share some of that with you. So bottom line, what we do is we help recruit retailers and restaurants to communities. So when we say retail, we're not just talking about your traditional retail, but we're talking about restaurants. We're talking about entertainment. We're talking about hospitality opportunities. So we kind of lump all of those in there. But at the end of the day, we identify new opportunities, and we recruit retailers to the community, and we coach our clients like Kingman on long-term success. So excited, like I said, to really already be in that recruitment phase. And we'll skip through this slide here real quick with a little bit about us, some of our team here, and I want to jump into what we've been working on. So what we've done to date is we've got our Retail 360 process, and this is that really kind of all-encompassing A to Z process. So number one, we had to understand the market. We had to understand where are people coming from to shop and eat in the community. We had to have a good understanding of that, but we also had to know what sites are available. So what retail opportunities exist? Is it a vacant piece of land? Is it an existing shopping center? Or is it a new, greenfield site that's available? We've got opportunities already with retailers and restaurants for each of those opportunities. We then identified a list of prospects, and then we've been recruiting. So when we say recruiting, we're talking about phone calls, emails, in-person meetings, trade shows. All of the above are part of our Retail 360 process. So on this next slide, we're going to look at some of the data and really what we've focused on so far. So it's really scary to think about, but nowadays we're able to track where are your consumers coming from based off of cell phones. So we took a look at a number of your different retailers and restaurants in town to really get a feel for where are those customers coming from, and how far are they driving into shop. So this is an example at the Walmart at Stockton Hill Road. The red on the map shows us where those customers are coming from. So we've run a number of these studies to get a good understanding of what that market looks like. We can also look at metrics. So as we're talking to potential prospects, we can say, look, in the last year, the Walmart in Kingman here on Stockton Hill has had 2.4 million visits. So we're not just providing where customers are coming from. We're not just providing that type of data, but we're also providing the real numbers. And this is helpful as we start talking to retailers. And same thing with, hours of the day. We can look at and we can see that your Walmart, the busiest hour a day that we looked at here is 4 and 5 p.m. And this is good data that prospects, if they're going to locate a store in your community, locate a restaurant, this is the type of data they want to see. And then we can show them, look, there's not one day that really stands out more than others at your Walmart. The weekends are busy, but you're consistently strong. So this is the type of data that we're putting together. So large retailers like Walmart, medium-sized retailers and restaurants, we've run it on shopping centers, and even small businesses as well, to get us that data we need to convince others that they need to locate in Kingman. So based off of this data, we have been able to determine the retail trade area that you see on the screen here. So you can see it extends out a good distance on 40 to the east, to the south, and then also to the west. Not all the way to Bullhead City, and that's just because of the retail and restaurants that they have there. But this is a custom polygon that we were able to draw based off of that cell phone data, based off of some other data sources we have as well. And we know without a shadow of a doubt, this is where the primary customers, so your regular customers, are coming from within this trade area. Based off of that, you're serving, so Kingman is serving a retail trade area population of just over 78,000. So 78,770 is that population you're serving. And that's much larger, more than double what the city limits population is. And that's what the retailers want to know. What we tell retailers all the time and what they tell us is, forget about the city limits population. What we want to know is, where are you pulling customers from? So we've run a full trade area profile for Kingman, but 78,000 in the retail trade area, growing to over 81,000 in the next 5 years. And then you can see some other demographic numbers on there. But the incomes averaging about 67,000 is your average household income. You can see the population makeup. A little bit older of a population. 51 is the median age. Average age is 47. I wouldn't consider those ages old, but compared to maybe some of the other communities in the state, or not just in the state, but in the region, in the U.S., a little bit older of a population, but the numbers look good. We're looking at things as well, like, not just incomes, but overall incomes. We're looking at overall net worth. Those are the types of things that we're getting to retailers and restaurants on a regular basis. Just to point out your city population, community population here, almost 34,000. That's growing, but again, your trade area more than double that. So that's what we want to focus on going forward. Your incomes are a little bit higher in the city as well. Just under 75,000 are what your incomes are. So all of this data again is what we're presenting. We also look at retail demand numbers. So it's one thing to go to a prospect, whether it's a retail, a restaurant, a hotel, whatever it might be. It's one thing to go to them and say, look, Kingman's a great location. It's got a great trade area population. One of the first questions they're going to ask us is, okay, it looks good, but what's the retail demand? Is there demand for a restaurant? Is there demand for a retailer? So what we do is we look at something called a demand analysis, and that's where we look at what is the demand today compared to what is that demand 5 years down the road. And the good news here, we look at a compound annual growth rate, which you'll see in the top right of your screen here. 2.76% is a compound annual growth rate. So that looks really good. We prefer to see that over 1%, over 1.5% to be able to show growth. So 2.7 looks great. You've got certain sectors that are growing much more rapidly than that. I look at like hardware stores. I look at paint and wallpaper stores. You look at grocery stores growing at 3.5%. We're talking to another potential grocer about coming to the market right now. So these numbers look really, really good, and we're showing positive growth. So that's what a retailer wants to see. Highlighted down at the bottom of this next screen here is just restaurant growth. We've heard about the need for more casual sit-down type restaurants, more destination style restaurants, and I can point out the numbers look good there. Growth of over 2% in restaurant sectors there. So this is the type of information that we're providing the prospects on a regular basis to convince them they need to locate in Kingman. We also, I mentioned this in the beginning, but we're looking at sites. One of the first questions we'll get from prospects is they'll say, we like Kingman, but what sites are available? So our team during that tour that Bennett mentioned, we spent a lot of time looking at potential sites. So these are, could be new development sites, could be redevelopment sites, or could be existing space. We have put together an inventory. We've developed marketing pieces, like you can see on the screen here, that really highlight the sites that are available, potentially could be available. And once we get these sites to these prospects, it speeds up that recruitment process. So we're almost doing the work of the site selectors for them. Sites are the work of the retailers for them, and they love it because like I said, we're doing their work, we're getting them this information, and again, that speeds up the process. So we've developed these site profiles. As other properties come available, we'll be updating and putting together even more site profiles. But the numbers look good. The available properties look good, and we're going to continue on that. So the next step in this process was identifying prospects, not just retailers, not just restaurants, but also developers and brokers. So we're doing outreach on Kingman's behalf. So that, again, it's phone calls, emails, ICSC, International Council of Shopping Center meetings, in-person meetings, getting the retailers, getting the brokers to town. But we have identified these retailers and restaurants, and we've started recruitment. So a list of some of these targets, and this is just kind of a snapshot of some of the targets, but you can see a mix of large warehouse retailers down to some smaller retailers as well, some home improvement stores, different kind of smaller grocery store concepts as well, farmers market type grocery stores. And then also you can notice a lot of casual sit-down restaurants. You can see quite a few on this list. I can tell you we're talking to many of them already, at least 5 or 7 that we're dealing with right now, where we've gotten all the way to the phase of we've identified sites, and there's even some negotiations starting to take place on sites. So these retailers, these restaurants that are on the list here, they had to be fits. So you had to fit their trade area population requirements. You had to fit their demographic requirements. You had to fit all of those different things in order for them to show up as a fit. So again, I'm going to skip through this slide, but this just kind of goes through our recruitment process and what that looks like. We keep track of all of this. Bennett and his team has access to our project management system, where we keep track of every phone call, every email with retailers and restaurants that are interested. We've got a hobby store that's interested in finding sites. We've got a discount retailer too interested in finding sites. We've got a couple of casual sit-down restaurants that I know council and citizens of Kingman will be excited about. We've got a couple of smaller, more specialized grocery stores that we're working with on sites as well. And we keep track of all of that on our recruitment tracking spreadsheet, like you can see here. Bennett and his team have access to it at all times, and we keep that updated as often as possible. Caleb on the call does that. We've also developed a Retail 360 page, or Retail 360 dashboard. And basically, this is a one-stop shop for retailers, restaurants, developers. It's got information on Kingman, a community blurb. It's got pictures, but it's also got the reports. And then we've also got a sites tool here so that if, somebody sitting in their office in Los Angeles, California, a retailer can access all of this information. It's on the economic development website. It's on the city website. It's on the standalone dashboard. But again, trying to make it as easy as possible for these prospects to find information on Kingman. And again, do the work for them to help speed up that recruitment process. So last couple of slides here, but we attend and represent Kingman at retail trade shows. We were at ICSC Western not too long ago. We've attended some other shows like Retail Live and other ICSC events, and we'll continue to do that. We've got a few coming up in the next couple of months, and we set up meetings at these events. We sit in on these meetings, and we have really, really good conversations with potential prospects on Kingman's behalf. So we've got some of those coming up here. In the next few months. We've got the big one, ICSC Vegas, that'll be taking place in May. So we'll start to see some results of that come out as well soon. And that's it. I want to wrap up with there, but we're here to help. We're excited about the opportunities that exist today, and excited about the interest we have. I don't expect it to slow down. We've had some good meetings with retailers and restaurants just in the last couple of days, and expect that to continue. So Mayor and Council would love to open it up for questions for our team if you have any. But that's it in a nutshell, and excited about what's to come.
Well, Aaron, thank you for the presentation. Council, any questions for Mr. Farmer?
I have some comments.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
I was very happy to have met with your team when they came out. Some of the takeaways that I took from that meeting was how aggressive your company is in going after just recruiting. So I was very impressed with the plan that they already had for going after retail and restaurants. I also was impressed, and I'm hoping it's still the case, that I did ask the question if there was any other community in the state of Arizona that you were contracting with. And at the time I was told no, because I wanted to know who we were competing with when you were out there talking about other communities. Is that still the case?
So we are working with Mesa, Arizona right now on a more kind of targeted approach for some of their submarkets they have in town. In Mesa. The good news is you're not competing with Mesa.
Correct.
So that, in part of this agreement we have with y'all is we will not work with any of your directly competing communities. So you're right, that is the case. And we do take an aggressive approach. We've had to learn over time. It's about being persistent but not pesky with the retailers and restaurants, right? And figuring out what is that right mix of contacting that we do. But over the last 24 years, I've been with the company for about 15 years. We've really tried to build those relationships with prospects, retailers, and restaurants. And if you've helped them locate 5 successful stores, they're going to listen to you again. And that's really the key to our process.
Well, I appreciate that. And yes, we need to keep as many sales tax dollars on this side of the hill so they're not leaking out into our other communities. So the other 2 comments I had was I like the fact that you're using the service area versus population. So I really like that approach that your company's using, because we have a vast service area versus a lower population when you look at the city of Kingman city limits. And then I also, when I talked to your team, we were discussing the opportunity for community input as to what restaurants and retailers they would like to see in our community. Your team seemed to be pretty receptive to the fact that, they want to bring in what the community is asking for. And I know as a council member, I get asked all the time about this retailer or this restaurant. It would be nice to have a portal where they could direct connect to you and you could see what the will of the community is. So I didn't know if that was in the works or something that was already up and running.
It is something that we've been discussing. We appreciate, can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. My video's not working. I'm traveling today, so I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty. So I'm sorry about that. But we actually have a survey that we've developed and a way for citizens to input or give us feedback. That's through that dashboard. There's a contact form there. We can work with the economic development team to make sure we are getting we're getting that information out there and getting as much feedback. You know, we don't want to bring in retailers or restaurants that aren't fits for the community or aren't retailers or restaurants that the community wants to see. So we're open to all that feedback. We'll work with Bennett and his team and Vice Mayor and Council. We'll work with everybody to get that information out there and figure out a way to where we can get more feedback from the community on prospects. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you for
Okay.
that answer.
Sure.
And thank you for all that you're doing for our community. I'm very excited about this partnership that we have with you and moving forward, and excited to see the results.
We are too. I'm hoping, and again, I apologize for the technical issues tonight, not being on video, but my hope is that within the next, let's say, couple of months, we're able to announce a couple of these that we're working on. So we'll look forward to doing that in person next time, and maybe at one of your upcoming council meetings.
Great. That's all I had, Mayor.
Aaron, thanks again for your participation in our council meeting, and Vice Mayor, I think all of the council echoes your thoughts on this, and we appreciate that. So, okay, any other comments?
Yes.
Councilor Saley.
Yep, I just have two quick questions. First, you have Costco listed here, and I wanted to sort of highlight this because this is one where there's always rumors in the community that Kingman's not big enough, we don't make enough money, we're not smart enough, you know, whatever it is, we aren't going to get a Costco ever because we don't fit their criteria. And so I just wanted to highlight, if you could go over this one again and sort of reassure the community that we are a fit for them. Is that right?
So they have different parameters that they look for depending on the region that they're looking in. So I can tell you that there are Costco's in smaller communities. You know, they look for not just population, but they look for incomes and they look for certain occupations and those sort of things. And you know, I can tell you we've had some conversations with some warehouse users as of recently, retail warehouse users. I probably don't want to take it much farther than that comment, if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that there are Costco's in smaller communities.
That's really exciting. The closest Costco to Kingman is always a madhouse. It is stressful to shop there, and I know this community would love to have that, and you know, to have a Costco gas station, I'm sure would attract a lot of people off the interstate as well.
Yes, ma'am. A lot of it depends on where they're looking to expand at the moment. So certain retailers, you know, maybe they'll put a region in sight for, you know, 6 months or a year, or they'll say we're going to open 10 stores in the state or 15 stores in this region and those sort of things. So the key is, you know, even if they were to say no tomorrow, you want to continue the recruitment. You want to stay in front of them because that changes over time. Or it could change, and they could change their focus. Hey, once they open up 10 stores in this region, they're going to move to this next region. So our goal is to just stay in front of not just Costco, but stay in front of all of these retailers and restaurants, so that if today's a no or a maybe that maybe turns into a yes 6 months from now. So we want to. That's part of that aggressive recruitment approach we want to take, and staying persistent, but not being pesky.
Thank you. Thank you for answering that, and just the reassurance. I think, you know, sometimes we get kind of down on, you know, our potential for growth and growing the retail. And it's just nice to hear that we do fit criteria for all these businesses. And that leads us to my second question is you have 32 retailers and restaurants listed here. And I'm wondering what you think like how many of these businesses do you think we could see added to our community in, say, the next 2 to 5 years?
That's a great question. Hey, Caleb, give me an idea. Just because I don't have the numbers right in front of me, how many retailers and restaurants are we talking about sites with right now, give or take?
Right now, there are 5 of those looking at and requesting sites. There are 2 others that have a site identified. And then we've got 2 that have got, an LOI on the space actually. So,
So I would think, to your question, I would think at least 2, but likely more in the 5 to 7 range based on the feedback we've gotten so far.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Farmer? Or actually, for Bennett also? Okay, thanks again for your presentation, Bennett and Mr. Farmer.
Yeah, thank you all. Have a good evening.
You too. Item 6B, Kingman Tourism Update. Mr. Miller?
Yes, Josh Noble, our Tourism Services Manager, is going to be giving you a presentation that you receive periodically from the tourism function. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Noble.
Yeah, it's a F5 usually, but it's not coming in here.
You have to go back through the Zoom. It has to be screen shared through there.
Got it. Thank you. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, thank you for your patience on that. So I have a update on tourism activities over the first 4 months of the current fiscal year. That's July through October. This is basically since our last update, and it's going to be a concise update, and no means is it all conclusive of all the things that we've been doing, but it'll hit a little bit on our marketing and promotions, the visitors and gift shop sales, our Route 66 initiatives, events, and film and media efforts. So our largest marketing component that we participate in is with Arizona Office of Tourism Rural Marketing Cooperative. We have about roughly $100,000 in marketing that we participate in. 14% of that is in research and resources, so that includes the strategic plan, the survey that you hopefully all received yesterday. If you haven't, look for it. We'll send a reminder out next Monday. 5% in attending trade shows, 35% in print marketing, and 46% in digital marketing promotions. One of the things that we did is worked with the streets and finance department to put together these Explore Kingman branded street banners that are out on Stockton Hill Road right now. This is really trying to highlight the different things people can do in our area, especially outdoors recreation. We also relaunched the website explorekingman.com in July. This integrated Google Places API, so we're taking the business profiles and we're assigning those to the profiles on our website. So when we go out and we make updates on Google Places, that's updating their profiles on our website as well. So we're not double working. Also more user-friendly navigation features. We simplified the back-end structure for us to add events and update, the website. Added points of interest maps. We also added content translations so that anyone that's looking at our website can just click right into their language, and then they can browse the rest of the website in their language of choice. And then, of course, Kingman is always evolving. So we added some cleaner images to really showcase what Kingman is about and try to keep that content fresh. The next thing I wanted to highlight on is the visitor traffic. So this is a quarterly view of our traffic at the Visitor Center from 2018 through now. You can see that big spike in 2019. A lot of that was people coming in motor coaches. It was a lot of people using the restrooms, not necessarily visiting the Visitor Center, going to the gift shop, asking questions, going to the museum. The 2023 visitation is really outpacing 2022. Currently, it's our 2022 is our third most trafficked year after 2019, 2018. So I think 2023 is going to be our second most trafficked year. If we continue at that pace, 2024 may succeed 2019. And then this is gift shop sales. So you can see our gift shop sales as of late have really increased quite a bit. So you can see 2019, although they're high, they're lower than they were in 2022. So that really goes to show that our visitor traffic is more aligned. People are more purposefully visiting the visitor center. 2019, our sales were 299,000. 2022, 332,000. This year, year to date, we're 362,000. That's a 39% year-over-year increase over 2019 through October, and 29% increase in over 2022 year to date. We're projecting to be well over 400,000 in sales in the gift shop in 2023. Route 66 initiatives is another big component of what we're participating in. In August, I attended the Route 66 All-Community Meeting in Winslow, Arizona. There were representatives from all across the state, from Oatman to the west to all the way to Holbrook on the east. We discussed updates in each community and also what sort of things we wanted to see for the Centennial. There is another Centennial Project meeting that we have lined up with the state groups. It's a virtual meeting with the destination marketing organizations such as us and chambers across the state. As we get that framework set in, we will be starting to incorporate other local partners like Main Street and the Kingman Route 66 Association to see how we can work together and really make everything work for the state and work locally as much as we want. We also have the Arizona Office of Tourism that's looped in on these meetings as well. Another initiative was the Guardian Angel of Route 66 exhibit. I know a few of you were there at the grand opening in July. Not only has the AI Angel been very popular with visitors, but another component that's been pretty popular is the sign wall. So people can write a message, put it on the wall, and we actually have to use Google Translate, as you can see here, to moderate the content to make sure that everything is on point. So we'll see message in the Chinese, Japanese, Italian, French, German, all over, and then sometimes we come across some messages that just don't fit, so we take those cards down. That way we're always keeping the wall space open for more relevant material. We also act as the Films Resources Coordinator for the City of Kingman. This is with the Arizona Commerce Authority's Office of Film and Digital Media. So we worked with the clerk's office as well as with other departments in the city to put together a film permit application. That's not only to help all of the departments be informed with what may be coming in and what may affect roads or sidewalks, or let the police and fire know where we might have high concentrations of film activity, but it's also to help them get through the red tape so that when they're trying to get a permit and they're just doing a simple project, whether it's a docuseries or whatever it is, that we can help them through that. We developed this because the state legislature had passed a Arizona Motion Picture Production Program that started in January 2023 that provides a annual sum of $75 million in film incentives for film production in the state of Arizona. That's going to increase to $125 million by 2025. So, and those incentives that they can apply for, that depends on the size of the production, but basically we're trying to encourage and bring more film production to Kingman, just like the state is doing to this day. Excuse me. Media and press assistance is another key component of what we do. We assist with itineraries, contacts, suggestions for stories. We host tours. We will line up accommodations, meals, attraction entries. We may subsidize those if we think that the story is going to bring some more attention, media awareness, and travel to Kingman. So that's a big component that we try to do. And a lot of those, they come in through the Arizona Office of Tourism. They come in through my meetings at trade shows. We also get referrals in from our social media and from our website. Event support is another component that we're trying to do to encourage more events in the area. We just were a sponsor of the second annual Route 66 Ultra Run. This was held Veterans Day weekend, so Route 66 was founded on November 11th. So their key thing is to hold this event every November in honor of Route 66, and it brings ultra runners who run all the way from Seligman to Topak. It's a 140-mile run over 3 days, and we think it's going to bring a lot of awareness, and so we're always trying to help, whether that's getting them contacts with the other state agencies, helping to provide resources. We were a stop for, one of their key points on this race. So anything we can do to help events like this grow in this area. And of course, we also had our 3rd annual Kingman Route 66 Fest. You can see there, that's the Cadillac Ranch experience that a lot of people really enjoyed. We're trying to bring unique and interesting things in that people can do. We had a lot of 47 vendors. We had a lot of participants with the shows on wheels. We had contests. We're trying to grow this event. We had a lot of, this is a big collaboration effort between Parks and Public Works and us and several different departments in the city. In 2021, we had a full 2-day event. Attendance was about 5,300. These are numbers that we're getting off of our Placer AI. That's the cellular data platform that we use to figure out where people are coming from to help us in our marketing efforts. So our average by hour is 339 people that year. Peak attendance was 1,000 in 1 hour, and average time spent 77 minutes. People coming in from 50 miles away or further, about 1 in 7, 13, and we saw people come in from 4 states. Till 2021, people were a little bit more hesitant to travel, so it was kind of a kickoff year. We didn't know exactly what we'd get, but we thought we'd put it out there and try it. 2022, about the same attendance, but we did get rained out the second day, so really that attendance would have been quite a bit more. Average hour, 986 people. Peak attendance, 2,300. Average time about the same, 75 minutes. Same 50-plus miles, but we did see people from 7 states outside of Arizona. Attendance this year, we had about 9,000 people. We did have 2 full days. Average hours, about 500 people. Peak attendance, again, about 2,300. Average time was 94 minutes, so you could see that the different things that we were bringing in between the camper show, the Cadillac experience, the graffiti sign contest, all of those were getting more interest and getting people to come in and stay longer. And then we saw people come in from 15 states. So we could see that it's growing. We think we're meeting our goals of trying to make this a recognized event heading to the Centennial. And of course, we also want to compare ourselves to other festivals out there. So there's a lot of resources out there on what other events are on Route 66. This is a list of the top 10 events by attendance according to Placer AI. We hit number 9. So one thing I find interesting is the estimated visitorship according to the cell data versus what they self-report said came in, is there's quite a gap. Route 66 Cruise and Reunion, that's in Ontario, California. It's a 2-day event. And when we capture these numbers, we're really geofencing according to what the event promoter is saying that their event, footprint is. So they were saying about 150,000, but they had about 41,000. Of course, 97% were within their 50-mile market. There's 7.8 million people in that area. That's according to U.S. Census data. The second highest was the Birthplace on Route 66 Festival in Springfield, Missouri. 3-day event that started in 2010, so they've really been building that every year. About 29,000 in attendance. The Albuquerque's Route 66 Summerfest on Nob Hill, about 26,000 this last year, and these are all the most recent event. Those are the dates that under the dates category, so they're all the 2023 events. International Mother Road Festival in Springfield, Illinois, they say about 80,000, about 24,000 is what Placer's pulling in, but they had about 24% come from out of the area, which is really good numbers. The Rendezvous back to Route 66 in San Bernardino, California, 1,200 cars. They didn't report how many, but basically from here out, it's about 10,000 attendees that you had going to their event. Route 66 Heritage Festival. This one I'm really watching closely. It's the same. It's in its 3rd year. It started the same year that we did. Of course, they have one thing. The Thompson Square Band and Keith Anderson are both natives of this town, so they come and they play at the festival, and that brings a lot of people in to that event. So it's hard to compete with that. But Berwyn Route 66 Car Show in Illinois, Kingman Route 66 Street Drags, they're all about the same amount, and then the Kingman Route 66 Festival, about 9,000. The 10th one I have in the last on this list, the Route 66 Road Fest. This is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's sponsored by AAA. I estimate about 800 or 8,800 people. They said 5,600. It's actually in this big convention center. We may have been capturing other things that were going on in the convention center, and that's why our numbers might be bigger. So probably the 5,600 is the correct amount, but they had about 45% of their people coming in from out of the area, which is really good numbers. So that's one of the event promoters that we're thinking about going to that event next year to maybe represent Kingman and be there as a resource for people that are traveling in. We can tell them all about our festival and what we have in our area. We had a lot of great partners in putting on this event. Main Street, the Pharaoh's Car Club, the Mother Ode Hog Chapter, they all helped out and were key components to the event. The location, we had it at Lewis Kingman Park. The main event, it worked out pretty well for parks because it's easy to set up. You can, set that area aside and put everything up. Streets, there's not a whole lot of street closure, so all that's really helpful. The former city manager did encourage us to try to have a downtown component this year, and so we did work with Sherry Shaw and Pitchfork Marketplace to try to host something at Locomotive Park as well. It was a real positive experience working with Sherry. I know there was some confusion with the vendors on which event they were to go to, and some of the spectators didn't know where all the things were. So that's something that we might learn from, and if it's something the council would like to bring back to a future agenda, that's something that we can always discuss. And that's basically all I have. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate the report. Any questions for Josh? Okay, seeing none. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Item 6C, Rancho Santa Fe and Kingman Crossing traffic interchange updates. Mr. Miller.
Yes, Mr. Allred is going to be giving his city engineer report on the TIs. Thank you.
Good evening. Just have a couple things to share with you tonight. I'll start off with Kingman Crossing. Just want to report that our engineer is still working on the comments that we've received from ADOT. There was a meeting last week with one of the ADOT teams to work through some of the things that they're bringing up and want addressed. And so for Kingman Crossing, that's all I've got at the moment. As we get further along addressing comments, I'll have more to report. For the Rancho Santa Fe project, we're still waiting on comments from ADOT. Those are planned to be received next week. And so, it's kind of close to the holidays, so I'm not sure exactly how that's all going to play out. But we will, once we get all the comments, we'll schedule a meeting with all of the pertinent people and have a comment resolution meeting. And then we'll start working on addressing all of those that we get. So with that, that's all I have to report tonight.
Thank you, Phil. Any questions for Mr. Allred? Okay, thanks again. Item number 7 on our agenda, announcements by mayor, council members, and city manager. Grady Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, Council, I have no report tonight.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Walker, Keith,
Nothing tonight.
Sean?
Yes, I was a little under the weather, so I had to do 2 Zoom meetings with economic development as well as the airport and industrial park. Don't have a date yet, but they are going to be setting up a tour for the draw site. They're really going along well there, and I will let everybody know when I get that information. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Smiley. Councilor Staley. Jengus. Okay, Vice Mayor.
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Okay, I did want to just recognize and thank all the people from Kingman and the surrounding area for participating in the, I guess we're calling it the Light Parade. Is that right, Annie? The Christmas Light Parade? Street of Lights. Street of Lights this last Saturday. There was great attendance. I was amazed at how many people were out and filling the streets. And it was a walk parade and a lot of people enjoying themselves and having fun. And I think it was great for our downtown. And I appreciate that. One other thing that is coming up that I want to bring our attention to this weekend, December 8th and 9th, the Toy Drive-In Market. And join our Kingman Fire Department and the Investables crew in the Toy Drive-In Market located at Lee Williams High School, 400 Grand Avenue from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. both days. And of course, food trucks, local vendors, gifts and collectibles. Admission is $5 or $2 with a gift/children's clothing donation. And of course, vendor booths are available, and there's contact information. I'm sure you could find more on our website. Lots of good things happening, of course, during these holidays. And of course, once again, want to remind people to continue the service and goodwill that they are giving one to another here in our community. And I appreciate that all happening. Item number 8, council requests for future reports and updates. Council? Okay.
I do have one.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
On the bird scooters, I am starting to receive a lot more complaints, and so I would like to get a report on that, see where we are, and possibly put it on the agenda to take action.
We will definitely come back with a report. And I believe the contract that the council awarded on that was for a very limited period of time, too. I think it was 3 months, 6 months.
Right, I'd like it in February.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Vice Mayor. Item number 9, executive session. Of course, we took care of 9A. We have item 9B, amended executive session regarding KDP manager, DA. The city attorney requested the council go into executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A4 to discuss and get direction regarding the KDP manager development agreement, discussion and or action on that. And then, of course, item C on our executive session, the city attorney requested the council go, executive session regarding former Route 66 Motel / Catholic Charities Joshua Housing for Hope. The city attorney requests that the council go into executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3 to discuss and provide legal advice regarding the former Route 66 Motel / Catholic Charities Housing for Hope. And once again, I want to thank everybody for being here in our council chambers. Can we have a motion then for council to go into executive session?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Once again, have a good evening. You're welcome to stay, but probably we will see you next time. Okay, after coming back from executive session, we have no further discussion for tonight. We are adjourned. Thanks again.